design friends. This is Cindy Allen, editor-in-chief of Interior Design Magazine. How are you? Okay, so imagine this. A few years ago, we were celebrating an amazing milestone together. The global bath giant Duravit, founded in 1817, can you believe it, as a ceramic tableware supplier, turned 200 years old. Oh my God, that's amazing. Okay, so let's fast forward. Today, they continue to be an amazing leader that influences bath design in large thanks to this long-lasting collaboration and partnership with Seeger Design. It's been 30 years with them. So I am thrilled to have my good friend and president of Duravit USA, Tim Schroeder, here today. And joining us from Seeger Design, and oh my God, their headquarters in Germany happens to be a castle, we're gonna talk about that, is Christian Seeger. Hi guys.
Hello Cindy, hi there, good to see you.
Hi Cindy.
Well, hi Tim, it's so nice to see both of you. And Christian, trust me, I think both of us would love to be over in your castle.
Yeah, you should, it's a beautiful summer day here.
Yeah, you have to, so, okay, we're gonna get to the history, your history together with Duravit, but you have to tell us, this headquarters in a castle, how is that possible? And how come I have never been invited?
Oh, that's a great mistake on my side, apologies. I hope one of the reasons to make traveling possible sooner than later, well, it was a great coincidence at the end of the day, because when we moved out of the interior design of sailing yachts, motorboats, and stumbled into the industrial design, we quickly realized we needed more space for our model making facilities, actually. And that was one of the reasons why we started to look for a bigger location, for a new home. And as you might know, my father is a trained architect. He built over 700 houses. So he said, yeah, maybe it's easier to find an existing one, maybe an older one. And we never thought about a castle. But after 3 years of looking around, we luckily found this place and moved in here with the small family of us, the four, and the small office of only 4 employees. And ever since, everything got bigger and bigger. And 2003, my parents moved out, and ever since, it's a pure office location now.
That's unbelievable. That's a fantastic story. The kind that creates design envy in a good way all over our community. I love it. I'm definitely coming someday. Okay, so Tim, let's talk about this long relationship. First of all, they're the brothers, right? So Christian and Michael. Tell us about the relationship.
Well, I think if you look back in time, you'll find that the work that Seeger Design has done for Duravit over the years has really increased the number of fans of our brand and increased our product offer to the extent that it enjoys today. And furthermore, I think if you look back in history, you'll find quite a lot of Seeger Design DNA in Duravit. And we like to think that there's some Duravit DNA in Seeger Design as well. With such an outstanding relationship together, and I've known now Christian for maybe over 30 years, it's just a very refreshing collaboration that produces. And so it's been exciting to see that evolve over the last few decades.
Yeah, I mean, you've worked with, look, you have a long-standing relationship with Stark, you worked with Norman Foster, but this relationship, 30 years, is, you know, I like to say that we're in the business of relationships and design, you know, but very few last as long as this one has. Christian, what's it been like for you? Do you remember the first thing you did together?
Oh yes, I mean, being a family business, I mean, you're automatically very closely involved. The office always been integrated into our home. So one of my first experiences was actually driving down with my father to Hornbeck into this Black Forest and setting up the presentation for the furniture of the Giamo, which was our first ceramic line for Duravit. And at that time, there was no design center. There was not this beautiful headquarters they have today. So we really used the social rooms of the team, and we had to redecorate. Luckily, it was the carnival season, so I went out to a shop and got some black and white textiles that we could use as tile floor.
Oh, wow.
So it really looked pretty nice. And that was my first ever contact with them and the design commission. So this is really something which always challenged us, knowing that there's not only one decision maker, there's a group today by more than 12 people looking at our design, questioning our designs. And I think this also makes the uniqueness of the results at the end of the day. There's so many different perspectives, so fruitful discussions, that it's yeah, something pretty unique for us. And so, I mean, we had these experiences of saying, no, this is not what we expected. This challenges us even more. And so we came back then after a few weeks, but luckily all over, Tim, I'm not quite sure. I think it never happened more than twice or three times over these 30 years altogether.
So so your father is Dieter, right? So, and
Right.
And
Yeah.
your brother
Michael
is Michael, right? So Tim, who do you like the most?
That's
I'm not listening.
question's terrible, horrible question. But,
I know. Oh, I'm so terrible.
I have done the most work with Christian. He travel. He comes into the United States. So I see him in Paris. Of course, I see Michael, and I've certainly seen Dieter in past fairs and such. But I see the most and have probably the closer relationship with Christian. Just
yes.
We first met when we were in our 20s, I think, Christian. So
that's my US affection. I mean, I went to school in Lake Forest ages ago, so
wow.
I think maybe maybe therefore I have a little US DNA also in me.
I love that you guys were so young, and it's those kind of long-standing like understanding about the business and growing together. It's something you'll always carry for the rest of your lives and continue to, design for. Okay, so this is what I have. So there was the Giamo, right? That was the first one? The Giamo,
Yes.
Dell'Arco, Bagnella, the Darling, right?
Yeah.
And this one,
you
right? And those sort of set the standard for the bath industry, right?
Yeah, there was quite a lot of really cutting edge designs that we managed to realize together. I mean, the Giamo line was quite a contrast to everything that has been there before. And I mean, not us, but it was the marketing team that claimed, okay, the conquest of the bathroom by design. So they had these little soldiers, actually, these little abstract figures, and it was a radical approach because it was designed not only of the ceramics, it was the bathroom furniture for the first time really picking up the same shapes, was the wash basin, ceramic tiles, even towels with the right matching colors was
Love
offered. So it was quite an approach and impact, and we were allowed to design the fair stand for the Ish Fair in Frankfurt as well. So it was quite a radical change, and was great. This little quote of the former CEO when they were pretty nervous doing this radical cut from this Black Forest approach presentation, and then Wendelin von Boch came by and said, "Woo, wow, quite an impressive change you're having here. Yeah, but would you think we're an old-fashioned company here?" That was the feedback of the CEO. So it was
I love that.
a good new start, and one must say, like we've been a good team. There are quite a few people on the board of design, on marketing, etc., with whom we have a close friendship, and I think this is quite a unique strength of this whole collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Sometimes you need to sort of take a risk or push a little beyond something that you didn't expect. And I love that the answer was, "Hey, of course we're going to love that."
Yeah.
All right, so now we have to talk about my personal favorite, because you don't know, like, I'm maybe your biggest fan in terms of Happy D. So Happy D 1999. So I want you to tell us about why that collection resonates so much in the industry, and also it's like you tapped into something, that like people were going to really want that collection, but also it stood the test of time, and I mean it continues to stand the test of time.
Well, I think this is maybe part of our design DNA, that we always try to look for the archetype in design, that we always try to really go down to some historical understanding. So if you are a big fan of APD, you also know the 1930 wash basin of Duravit, this classical style. And so we said, well, there must be a way of reinterpreting this in a modern way. Also using the experience that we had together with Dornbach with our Tara faucet, something also that at that point was already a big success in the market. We said we have to be able to find a similar design approach, shape also for a wash basin. And this is how Happy D, which originally had the working title The Bath. So we really said, this is the bath series. There is nothing beyond, which wasn't at that time. And we had the chance actually to present it in this room. The design team from Duravit came up here and experienced it more or less exactly the same way as it entered the market. And I think this is something that luckily we managed to realize with a few designs for different industries, to really tap into this DNA thinking. Sometimes we say, well, if you ask a child to draw something, it would maybe draw a wash basin similar to a Happy D shape. And this is something which then creates a wider audience. And I think the really interesting result is that you can bring it into so many different surroundings. I mean, you can push it really to a very pure, modern, cutting-edge bathroom with concrete walls, and in the next moment you can make a very nice, cozy children's bathroom setting, like I did with my first daughter's bathroom.
Right.
So this I think makes Happy D pretty unique.
So Tim, I ask you the same question. What do you think resonates with the Happy D collection?
Well, I think that what's fun for us on the sales side is that you always have to have a story behind product, and the stories are fairly robust with any of the Ziegler design collections, and Happy D in particular was this archetype. It was this very simple modern shape, and the shape of the basin is a D, and the letter D is pronounced day in German, and so the product name of Happy Day was just a great kickoff to the launch. And okay, this is the start of your day, the end of your day, and it's very happy. It gives you that feeling of confidence and of maybe having made a sexy choice in your product, in your bath product. And so that was from the start. We found that the market resonated with the collection. And again, as Christian indicated earlier, it has full furniture and full acrylic. It's a full bath collection. And that was also something that was really starting to gain speed for us, in particular in North America, but worldwide, was this idea that you could have a collection that starts in a basin and branches into all categories within the bath that give you this environment that's very comfortable and reassuring. I guess Happy D to me is very reassuring.
First of all, okay, I always talk about like where I live as like a happy place. It's so funny. Like I always say, like right now we're out in the Hamptons, and I always say this house is such a happy house. And I definitely, Christian, when I say I'm a big fan, Tim knows, he will attest. So first let me say, well, I studied that collection, like I knew the code numbers, and because we had an old house up in the Catskills, and it was a huge house, and it had one bathroom, and we put 6 in there. And there's Happy D all throughout that house, and it makes it, what I say, a happy house. And then, so let's talk about Happy D 2, which I have in the city, which is a little, so I keep following you, all right?
Great. Well, it's I think every good classic, every good archetype, every system has also the right to be updated. And I mean, we change. I mean, sometimes we don't really realize this, but I think it only takes a few years that you have to look back on your phone on your pictures, and you say, did I wear that? Was that my hairstyle hasn't changed over the years, but you know what I mean, or who sold me those glasses at that time? So I think this is something where you always have to be truly extremely careful and respectful with your own design, but we see that your perception is changing and that we're expecting something different. And whereas Happy D at the first launch was maybe a little stronger, bold, we said, I think it's about time that we need to make things a little lighter. I mean, these days we appreciate many lighter products. We thought about how can we realize this without losing the typical character, and by making the rims thinner and lighter and updating the furniture with new textile finishes. I think it's just brought it up to date and linked into the tastes and the expectations of the consumers of that time.
And Tim, what about just the impact of new technologies in terms of being able to design things in a different way?
Well, I think that this is part of the byproduct of going outside of the company for product design. Is this challenge of materials and material science as it relates to production. And innovation often is born from these collaborations. In the case of Happy D, it's a great evolution from the very beginning in '99 into Happy D 2, and then into the news of today is the Happy D 2 Plus. And I think it's that constant kind of reduction of the form and adding clarity to the form that pushes the manufacturing side of our business. After all, it's an industrial manufacturing arm. We're having to identify manufacturing in high volumes of these products. It's not a craft boutique kind of production, although I would say there's a lot of craft in the material because it is a natural material. But in the end, we have to be able to produce it at an industrial level. So those technologies enter into these developments through collaborations with, influence of Ziegler Design and the other partners that we work with.
Yeah, I want to call that out. So there is, like, designers are still designing. Here we are on Zoom, but designers are still designing, and you are still designing. And there is new product in the market that you want to talk about right now. And part of it is the Happy D 2 Plus, which is, so explain this, Christian. It says the collection is C-bonded and C-shaped. So tell us about the process behind that.
Yeah, as we all know, ceramic is one of the oldest materials mankind has civilized, and so we all know the privileges, the uniqueness of the finish, the surface, the durability. I mean, like Duravit, I think it stands also extremely for durability. That we could bury the wash basin in the garden and dig it up a few hundred years later, and there it is. But at the same time, we, as I said, are expecting new precision levels. I mean, when we look at all our consumer products, cars, lamps, etc., they became finer, thinner, more precise, more material combinations. And so we were extremely happy that we could start using C-shaped by combining really the very precise ceramic, which has been, how do you say in English, has been etched or purified on the outside, and then we can cover this with a new material. So the combination between the wooden cabinet and the ceramic becomes a unity. So it has a complete new appearance. And on the other side, we now even went one step beyond that. We not just took away the glazing and became the outer precision, but we added another glazing and had another firing process. And now we have an outer line which is so extremely precise. Nothing has been achieved on a similar level with the manufacturing of ceramic wash basins ever before. And that gives us new color combinations. We have freestanding options. In a look and feel, which I think is quite unique.
Yeah, Tim, what do you think about how the marketplace, I think that we get really excited about this.
Yeah, we've already had a very good response to the collection. And as I said earlier, the challenge with this environment that we're in is launching new products. And I would argue that the C-shaped and C-bonded are products that you really have to address the physicality of them. The precision is something that's rather personal, and it's a very interesting evolution for us in the product that we present to the market. In that, we've seen a lot of shapes and a lot of development of ceramics over the years, but this maybe takes it to a place that you hadn't imagined was possible. And that's the byproduct of these conversations. Again, going outside of the company and with the design firms working very closely with product manufacturing to evolve the material. It provides this personal feeling when you address it.
Tim, explain exactly the precision. I want people to understand it.
So what we're doing is we're honing the edge. We hone the edge of the material to within a very high tolerance. Ceramic as a natural material has tolerances up to about 5 mils. And so it's kind of like baking bread, you know, there is a lot of craft. And so depending on the humidity and the temperature and the slip and all of the variables that go into the production, each one is a unique piece. Where now we're introducing a process that allows us to control this edge at very high tolerance. And it allows us to bond either a furniture finish or reglaze it. And it's holding a tolerance. So Christian explained a little earlier, the relationship between the ceramic and the furniture now, we can hold a 4 mil gap. So we can hold, you know, under 3/8 of an inch gap between the furniture and the ceramic. And it presents this precision that just really feels right. It makes it feel very elegant because it's such a fine line between the two materials.
Christian, that small detail that's so hard to achieve, isn't it like so thrilling when you can get there?
Absolutely. And I mean, this is something which you need as a design team. You need someone who's as passionate, as crazy about such a detail as you are, because at the end of the day, I mean, we are not putting red arrows on these edges and showing the customer,
Right.
Look at this and see what we did. It's much more the overall appearance that he just looks at, or she, and together they just say, well, this is what we love. And hopefully it's just an emotional reaction and not a technical description why this is so super. This is something that makes us proud and happy to see people who say, well, this really makes me smile, this gives me a good feel, this creates a different atmosphere in my bathroom. And I think this is something which is just so important to us, that we create living rooms, that we want people to spend more time there. I mean, we create the most beautiful products, but they need to interact, they need to communicate. I mean, luckily we talk to each other and exchange things and thoughts and topics, but these days sometimes we are just running past each other. And so the more time we spend together in certain rooms, how we start our day, and hopefully it's a good start into the day. And I say, well, the bathroom is one of the most and crucial topics on that. And so therefore,
yeah, and even more so, and even more so today. And we talk about health and wellness, we talk about hygiene. It's in many cases, it's centered around the bath these days, right, Tim?
Yeah, 100%. I think that you see more and more material science coming into that space, to where now we have antibacterial finish hygiene glaze that prevents bacteria from growing in the toilet or the urinal, and have Wonder Gliss that provides easy cleaning of the basins. So this kind of technology is coming into the bath, and again, it's this idea of being comfortable and feeling at home in the bath, which is driving the product design and the offer. But in the end, in the background, you know, there's the technical kind of force ensuring that it's a safe environment. And it's the right material for the bath.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I could talk about Happy D all day long. And by the way, I would definitely notice the detail, and I am positive for all the designers and architects who specify Happy D, and there are a lot of them, they're going to be really, really excited by this new collection, the C-bonded and what is it? C-bonded and
C-shape.
And C-shape. Yeah, amazing. Okay, but I don't want to. I know we have to go off Happy D for a second, so I just wanted, because I know last year you launched a new collection called the View and the X View. I think we should talk about that before we close.
Well, it's also due to new thoughts, new precision levels. We also managed to integrate this technology, but it comes with a different design approach. And also on that briefing, on this discussion we had together with the design team, was really, okay, let's think completely out of the box. Let's think about something radically new. And I think very different shape of a wash basin that we have achieved, which offers surely the pure functionality we all are expecting, but at the same time, it's a very nice soft membrane, framed with a straight rectangular frame standing on a beautiful, very streamline shaped stand. So it is a different look and feel, and we know that there are different people with different tastes luckily out there in the world, and therefore we wanted to find an offer and think about new details. So I mean, we all know how beautiful it is these days. Hardly anyone ever does that. Open the hood of your car and then you look inside and you're surprised how beautiful an engine can look like these days. So we said, why can't we have a similar situation when you're lying in your bathtub or sitting on the toilet and then looking under the wash basin? So there's also a cover on that side. So it's a 360 approach. We have a freestanding bathtub, which is a piece of art and at the same time a beautiful item to use. The furniture is now no longer being identified as the bathroom furniture. So there is no border anymore between your bathroom and your living room. So you could integrate Duravit furniture elements there. And this is something that I think is also important for us to push this to new levels and get new expectations answered.
Yeah, Tim, you must be excited about this introduction. How did it go last year?
Also, very well received, and this statement of furniture becoming more than the bath storage it's really a key topic for us. I think that when you look at your bath, it should be just as exciting and as interactive as any other space in your house, with the exception that it's the only room in my house that's completely private. If the door is closed, you have to knock on that door before you come in. And so it's this refuge of, the fast pace, and it's this place that I can recharge, and surrounding yourself with really beautiful materials and design choice is, it's again, reassuring. I've used this word a couple of times. It just makes you feel good. It reaffirms kind of personal choice. And X-View and View are completely a different course of design aesthetic than the Happy D2 Plus. And it's that dynamic that is exciting for us to bring to market, so that we can cover a lot of different tastes and applied materials in the bath. That it makes it fun. It's exciting to be able to offer these kinds of products to the market.
Yeah, Christian, I don't want to forget this because technology is everything these days, but I do love that it looks like Michael is always sketching, like the hand is still ever present in the design.
Yes, that's so true. And I mean, with all the work that he's doing in the office, many of the ideas are really created at the kitchen table. In his sketchbook here and there, now he turns to his iPad and does some scribbles and sketches on that. But quite often he comes back with his big leather book and puts it on the scanner or says, okay, take a picture of this and proceed with the more detailed drawing of this. And I think it's still the fastest way of putting an idea in front of other people's face, their eyes, and checking up yourself. And therefore, luckily, this still continues. And I mean, we had discussions with the Duravit design team years ago where they said, okay, we can all have these 3D goggles, and then we stand together and then we design a wash basin. And that luckily never happened so far. I mean, we're using all the technology step 2 or 3. But at the beginning, it's definitely the touch of the fingers in the hand.
I love that. Oh, the power of the mind, the hand, and design. And I love at the kitchen table in the castle, by the way. A couple things I learned that I love so much is that you said the word is like durability. I love that. And also, Tim, what you said, which was, I always thought of it as Happy D, but it's Happy Day. So it's been a happy day for me today to be with you, Tim and Christian. Wonderful. Thank you so much for all you both give to the industry. We need it, and we need you.
It's always a pleasure, Cindy. Thank you very much.
Yes, big love. And I love that you said it was like baking bread, because we're here baking bread. It's
Thank you, Tim. It was good seeing you again, and I hope that I have the pleasure of welcoming the two of you very soon here in Hackon Castle, and then we'll share some good breads together.
Yeah, now we get the invite, Tim. Okay.
Okay.
I love it. We're coming. We're coming.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Take care.
Virtual
Okay,
hug.
Alfred.
Virtual
Bye.
hug. Thank you.
Bye.
Hello, I'm Helene Oberman, Managing Director of Interior Design Magazine, and I'd like to welcome you to Product Live. This is our series that delves into the products and trends grabbing the industry and in real time, looking at the minds behind the design. So how does one design an interior environment that's as functional as it is beautiful by creating products of extraordinary quality and craftsmanship through pioneering design and environmentally sensitive innovation? AtlasMasland's mission is to continuously surpass expectations with creatively designed and fabricated flooring that enriches the experience of their environments and built to last. With me today is to really discuss their story is Elena Cordova, Executive Director of Design and Product Development for AtlasMasland. Elena, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, you have been with the company for a very impressive 30 plus years. Tell us about really your journey to your current role and how your experience in the industry has really enhanced your creative design ability.
So I walked in the door in 1988 at Atlas Carpet Mills, knowing only that carpet went fuzzy side up, and essentially knowing what you saw in residential applications only. I knew nothing about carpet being patterns and colors, and that it was so artistic. Basically, it's so much art is really what it is. It's art for your floor. And because I was naturally curious, I was able to develop my skills and hone them over the years, and be who I am today. And that was that was quite the journey. But I appreciate the fact that they allowed me to explore that curiosity that I had in me, because if it weren't for that, I would not be here doing this.
I know that you're really passionate about cooking and baking, and it was interesting, which I'm assuming you're doing a lot of right now during this time period, but it's almost like there's a parallel between that and designing, right? Because it's about finding and perfecting the right recipe, which comes up with the right sort of ingredients or materials, correct?
And it's funny you say that, because I basically relate the two. I design and cook and bake pretty much the same way. I go into it experimenting, not quite knowing what I'm going to get, but I'm fearless. I'm not afraid to try. I mean, if you don't try, you don't know what you'll get. So you've got to at least try. So that's there's definitely a parallel between the cooking and the designing, because I approach both the same way.
Atlas Carpet Mills and Masland Contract merged. And I know that earlier this year, with the help of Mark Art Plus, so hi to my friend Tom in Chicago, I know a brand new identity was launched. How do you really create a unified brand for two legacy companies that have their own unique, strong voices? And really, what was the benefit that stemmed from this merger?
When the purchase of Atlas Carpet Mills first happened back in 2014, I was tasked with keeping the brands going, but keeping them completely separate and maintaining their own identity. And then in 2018, we decided, okay, that isn't working. Let's just merge everything. Atlas was known for really innovative design and really pushing fashion and patterns and colors. And Masland was known more for having a lot of tools that were available for the customers to use. And of course, they had great designs and great patterns as well. So having this huge arsenal now that I can work with, it gives me a lot more freedom to blend the two, marry the two, and just create some really awesome products. We want to provide an excellent customer experience from start to finish. And then secondly, we want to be that go-to mill that everyone comes to. That is what we are aspiring to do. We want to always have and offer solutions to whatever problems they have, so that they know when they come to us that we will have an answer. So we're striving to always come up with ways to answer questions and offer solutions, and also in the process, of course, be innovative. That to me is number one. Innovation is number one, because innovation will actually solve a lot of problems. If you create something that is problem solving, then you've already, half the battle is taken care of there.
So earlier this spring, you launched the Living series, which is a new collection, which is really specifically for the senior living market. I mean, do you find that there's really a higher demand now for this sector?
Absolutely. There are baby boomers coming out of the woodworks. There are a lot of people that are looking for these types of places. And where before they were considered, basically institutions, now they're communities. And a lot of people on the younger end of that spectrum are moving into these types of communities, the ones in their mid 50s, as opposed to, late 70s and 80s and, 90s. So yeah, there is a huge demand right now for these types of communities, and really an updated version of what used to be a facility. My approach to this was looking at it as, what would I want to see in a place like this? If I were moving into it, what would I want to see there? So that was the approach that I took when I designed Living Series.
I mean, the collection really speaks to obviously a much more sophisticated inhabitant, and doesn't feel institutional, and it doesn't feel like healthcare.
Exactly. To me, I want a more resort type facility, or high-end hotel, versus, something that is an institution, like a hospital with hospital beds. No, it needs to be more of a high-end apartment, basically. So I kept that in mind when I was designing these products in terms of the patterns that we're offering. And it's a huge offering with 16 patterns and 13 colorways, and both broadloom and tiles. So, I mean, we give you all of these options with this collection.
Because there's really some bold colors in there.
Yes. I really wanted to push color here because color makes you happy. If you think about it, color makes you happy. It makes you happy to see color in your space. I mean, if it's just dull and boring and quiet, you don't appreciate it as much. It's like color just makes you feel good in general.
I was going to ask about the specific really needs and behaviors of this specific population that really the flooring has to accommodate. And so how does the patterning, from the naturals to the geometries, really adapt to these needs?
Right. Well, in these communities, I mean, a lot of them are being built for aging in place. So basically, you go into them when you are pretty young and vibrant still, even though you are technically a senior. And it's meant to still support you as you are moving up and moving further into those seasons in your life. The patterns are a combination of scales and different movements and geometry, as we said, just to make sure that we're able to cover, where you need those more active patterns and where you need those quieter patterns, as in going into memory care and things like that. They are available in this offering. We made sure that everything that was needed was in there, including the colors.
The Living series is made up of what is called the most sustainable nylon carpet fiber in the world. Can you really tell us about the properties that make up Thrive?
It stands alone as the most environmentally conscious solution dyed performance 6.6 carpet fiber in the world. It has the highest level of recycled material and the lowest CO2 emissions. So, I mean, the offsets, the carbon offsets for it are like crazy. It's all like all the trees in Central Park is what it's equivalent to. We use it quite a bit, really. But it really speaks to that sustainability story that we have to have when we are creating products that aren't so wonderful for the environment. In addition to the fiber on the top, the backing in this product is a Sustaina backing, which is a breathable non-PVC backing, it's crazy. I mean, it allows moisture to vaporize through the carpet rather than trapping it underneath, it's a huge thing to have. We do want to leave something behind for our kids. We want to leave them a, a planet in more or less decent condition, which it's not quite there, but we don't want to add to the problems, basically. So we're trying to find ways to mitigate, our carbon footprint.
And I think designers, that's what they're in, obviously they're really looking for and really attuned to those types of products when they're specifying. But, Thrive and Sustaina is also used on another new product for you that just launched, one geared for the workplace, which is called Reveal. So can you really tell us about the inspiration behind this collection, which I think you describe or define as the art of excavation? So I was just wondering if you were like on an archaeological dig and you're like, I had the aha moment.
Well, I didn't physically go on one. But what I'm finding is I've found myself recently attracted to looking at things really, really up close. I will look at the sidewalk and really zoom in, and you start to see patterns and textures. You look at an old distressed wall in a building and you start to see really, really interesting things. Based on these pictures that I've seen of things that are interesting that you find when you go excavating, that really is what inspired the collection Revealed.
Mm-hmm.
So I called it Reveals, Unmask, Uncover, and Unveil, because you do all those things when you are digging stuff up.
Obviously this product Revealed, so it's really geared towards the workplace, but certainly given the sort of current situation in the world, how do you think Revealed will ultimately be utilized in what we're all calling sort of this new workplace?
Well, the thing about Revealed is it has 3 distinct patterns in it that you can play with and mix and match. And in this new age of social distancing, you can really use those 3 patterns to create defined spaces. The little circle with 6 feet, stand here is great. But there are other ways to define that in a sophisticated way. So having those 3 patterns will allow you to do that and create those stations basically where you should be and shouldn't be. It's like stand here, stand there. You can create that effect without having it be literal.
How has that really affected your own design process?
Well, in thinking about what we are making, we're doing more behind the scenes in terms of, how we treat the nylons that go into making the carpet, so that when it comes to disinfecting and cleaning and sanitizing those things, the process of doing that becomes easier. But in terms of what I'm physically designing, it isn't changing much. I like to push the envelope when it comes to design. I like to do things that are different and unexpected, basically. So I will continue on that path of doing the different and unexpected and the innovative. But, in regards to, today's environment and what we have going on, as I said, a lot is happening behind the scenes. And we're also partnering with some people who provide products to help you with the sanitation and the cleaning of not just the carpet, but the LVTs that we offer as well.
So really to find that innovation and that spark, how are you staying inspired?
I see patterns everywhere. I can look at any surface and pick out a pattern. Sometimes I'm playing with my cell phone and I just I look at the fabric in whatever item I'm wearing and I zoom it could be a solid looking fabric, but if you zoom all the way in, all of a sudden there's a pattern there that you didn't see. I tend to go in really close on things to find the patterns that are there. And I use that as kind of building blocks for what I design. And then I start playing with those textures, cutting and pasting, turning in different directions, blowing up, shrinking down. And that's kind of how I come up with a lot of things that I come up with.
Are you able to kind of share what kind of textures and patterns you're looking at, say, for the next collection?
Well, there is a collection I have that we're working on right now called Ingenuity. Ingenuity is a really small texture. There is a perception that the less texture something has right now, the less places there are for things to go in and get caught, like, bacteria and germs and whatnot. So I'm working on a really small, just an overall texture. But even in doing that, the version that I'm working on is not like everyone else's. On average, when you see these textures, they may have 2 or 3 ends in them. Mine has 8. So, it's like really pushing the envelope in terms of what you get I walk to the beat of my own drum. I don't follow what others are doing, even though I realize that, you know, it's like these are the trends that are happening right now, and you need to present something that fits that trend. I will present something that fits, but mine is over here. It's not in line with everyone else's.
Well, that's great. Well, and then, so for Ingenuity, are you thinking more than about just like the patterning and the color if it's not about texture?
Right. It's more, it is a slight texture,
Okay.
not much at all. Because I have a problem with flat carpet. I can't bring myself to do it. I mean, flat patterns to me just have no dimension and no life. And I like there to be a texture, but I'm working on just mitigating that texture some in what we're offering here. So while it is a texture, it's not hugely textured. It's like you can't hide food in it.
Yeah, no, of course. Well, Elena, I want to say thank you so much for all of your time. I mean, you can definitely tell that you're a woman that definitely just, you know, goes to the beat of her own drum, and that's amazing, and you should continue that. Thank you for your insight about AtlasMasland and, of course, your design for your new products. And for our audience out there, please make sure to check out the AtlasMasland website to learn more. Thank you.